Hey, this is Gen X Amplified episode number 24. And on today, this is another solo episode. That's right. It's just me and you, where I will be talking all about branding and how you should really define what exactly is your brand. Remember, it's more than your logo. Okay, so are you ready? Let's do it.
Welcome to Gen X Amplified, where we bring you inspirational and entertaining conversations with successful Gen X leaders and entrepreneurs.
This is the show created just for you. The powerful generation between the boomers and millennials to help you amplify your story,
maximize your impact,
and become Gen Exceptional in business and in life.
Now, here's your host, Adrian Porter.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the premier podcast for the powerful, exceptional generation between the boomers and the millennials, Gen X Amplified. Hope all is well with you, and thank you so much for listening in and for your attention, for your download, and just for being you. So today happens to be another solo episode. That's right. And another special thing is that this episode is brought to you by adrianporter.com. That's right. Which you can tell by the name of the website is my very own personal website, my online home, my personal blog. But the reason that I chose to sponsor this episode by the website is because it has actually been totally revamped and updated and rebranded. That's right. So I just rolled out the new website, my new website, in the past couple of days. And I'm really excited about the rollout because it is a little bit more robust. And actually, it showcases the new branding, new content, and you can find the blog post, more insights on how I can help you as leaders, especially those that are in the midpoint of their careers, Gen Xers, if you will. How it can help you with new content, and you can listen to the episodes of this podcast on the personal website as well, in addition to the main website at genxamplified.com. So if you go to adrianporter.com/podcast, there you will see a page dedicated to Gen X Amplified, and I have an embedded podcast player where you can listen to all the episodes and even download them. So really excited about it. And also as an added treat, and my goal is to add value to you and to help you maximize your impact in business and life. And speaking of value, I have a brand new PDF that you can download. It's actually free, brand new, and just for you. You can get that at the website and also on genxamplified.com. But basically, it is a resource list called 10 Tools Every Entrepreneur Needs in this new media marketplace. So for those of you who are looking to start a business or even grow your current business, I've put together a list of 10 tools that majority of them, I would say maybe 8 or 9 out of the 10 I personally use to grow my business, to grow my brand. But these are resources and tools that I vouch for that are much needed for anyone looking to build a business in this new media marketplace. New media, I'm talking about the marketplace of blogs, of digital media, of mobile, podcasting, social media, just this new media economy that we live in right now. These are the tools that I recommend. So definitely check it out. Go to adrianporter.com, and there you would see the opportunity to download it free. Just all I need is an email address so we can send it directly to you, to your inbox, and just focus on adding value to you. So as I mentioned earlier, this is another solo episode, and today I'm going to be discussing branding and brand. That's right. I initially wrote about this topic on my personal website, and it was all about how do we define what is a brand. And I thought that it actually, beyond just being a blog post, it warrants its own podcast episode because, I really believe in the visceral, emotional power of audio. So I felt that this topic was sufficient enough for me to really dig in and speak directly to you through this podcast about branding. And I want to talk about what I believe are the 5 elements that really define a brand. So as we talk about building a business, building a brand, even if you're someone who's currently within the workforce, working for a company, but you're looking to build a personal brand, I feel that these elements are very beneficial and also really explain what a brand is. And the reason I want to talk about this, because many people, to me, misunderstand exactly what is a brand. So the question that I have for you is, when you think of brand, or when you think of the act of branding, what comes to mind? What are the things that come to mind? Is it a logo? I would argue to say that a majority of people, and I've been guilty of this in the past, when I think of brand or creating a brand or what is a company's brand, I immediately think of a logo. Or maybe it is a catchy tagline or the name of your business or the colors that you choose. Now, those elements are really important for creating a brand, but to me, it's only a small part of what exactly is a brand. So as an entrepreneur, you cannot make the mistake of putting all the weight of your brand on your logo or just the color you choose, because your brand goes beyond that. To me, a brand is really the complete story of what you want to communicate about your business, about who you are, and the perception that you leave in the minds of your audience, of your customers. Jeff Bezos, the founder and the CEO of Amazon, said it best when he said, and is a very commonly quoted statement, he says, "Your brand is what people say about you when you leave the room." So, very true statement, and it goes beyond just tangible assets like a logo or colors. So think about the next time that you're thinking about your brand. You really must understand, what is the perception that you want people to say about you when you leave the room. So with that in mind, I really want to break down in this episode the 5 key elements of what I think a brand entails. So number 1, the first element is, what is your brand purpose? Your brand purpose. And what does that mean? So that essentially means really understanding what is your why. Why do you exist? Why do you matter? Why do you choose to do what you do? And when I think about your brand purpose, your why, I often go to one of my favorite books by Simon Sinek. It's called Start With Why. And he had a TED Talk to go along with that. And in this book, and I definitely recommend you check it out, Simon talks about how the best companies, the most powerful brands in the world, what separates them from the rest. Think of Apple, Starbucks, Nike, all of those companies. What separates them from the rest is because they lead in, not because of what they do or how they do it. It's because of why they do what they do. So think about Apple. Apple, yes, they create products such as iPods. Well, they used to. Well, they still do. But iPhones, MacBook Pros, iPads, even other hardware. They create all of these great, beautifully designed products. But the reason that people stand in line for hours and hours every time there is a new product released from Apple, it's because they believe in why do they do what they do? For the simplicity of their products. It's all about creating a tribe. Think about Starbucks. Starbucks, they're not in the business of selling coffee. They are in the business of delivering a third place between home and work. And that has been stated by Howard Schultz, the CEO of Starbucks, and the team members over there in the marketing department. They are in the business of creating this ultimate brand experience for their customers. It's their why. It's why they do what they do. It's not the what. So your brand purpose is really your rallying cry. It is your why. It is what really motivates not only your team members, but also your audience and your customers to be part of your brand story. So the first element of a brand is understanding what is your purpose, what is your why. So the second element of what I believe defines a brand is your brand positioning. So what does that mean? So in this crowded business landscape, your number one goal is really to stand out and set yourself apart from others that's in your niche. Well, that is your brand positioning. It's all about claiming that unique space in the hearts and minds of your target audience and the marketplace. That is your brand positioning, the second element. And so in order for you as a business owner, as a personal brand, to understand how you should be positioned in the marketplace, you really need to answer 3 questions to get to that point of differentiation. Number 1, what is the category that your brand is in? It's important to understand what market that you're looking to dominate. Where are the opportunities and what kind of gaps can you fill? What is it about the marketplace that you can fit in that you will stand apart? Number 2, who is your best target audience? And what I mean by that is that many of us, when we're building businesses, when we're thinking about our brand, we think about our target audience. But you must understand not just who is your target audience, but who is your best target audience. You really need to narrow it down. One of the other episodes that I've had early on the podcast with Jason Swank, we talked about the importance of niching down your ideal audience. And that is so true. Remember, you cannot be, or you should not be, all things to all people. That's why you really need to narrow your target market down to your ideal customer. And not only that, but in order to do that, you need to understand what are their specific pain points. What are their needs? What is it that they're struggling with? And once you really understand that, then you can deliver solutions that are best for them. So that is the second question that you need to answer when you're thinking about the positioning that you want to be in. And then the last question under brand positioning is, what is it about your brand that is apart, that sets it apart relative to the competition? You know, every person is a brand, and every brand has a story to tell. So what is your unique story in the marketplace? What is it about your brand that makes you the rock star of your industry? That is why building a personal brand is even important, even if you have a regular business or traditional business and you're not thinking about the personal brand. You know, there are so many products that are out there that are similar, but there's only one you. So if you have a business that you're building around you and your personality, your personal brand is so important, and that will help you set yourself apart. So brand positioning, in order to get to your brand positioning, which is the second element, you must understand the category that you are in, who is your best target audience, and what is it about your brand that sets it apart relative to the competition. So brand positioning. Now, number 3, the third element I believe that defines a brand is your brand promise. That's right, promise. So when we think about our personal lives and our interactions with other people, you know, promises mean a lot to us, especially when it comes to building trust. Well, the same principle applies when it comes to the relationships we have with brands. So what is a brand promise? Well, a brand promise is when you communicate a guarantee of value to your audience. That is the promise that you're delivering. And when you think about a brand promise, it's really kind of an extension of your positioning that we talked about earlier, your brand positioning, the specific space in the marketplace that you want to own. So once you understand your positioning, then you start to really craft and think about what is your brand promise? What is the guarantee of value? For example, this is a great example that I always like to talk about and use, is that when we think about Walmart, right? The biggest retailer out there, Walmart positions its brand as being the leading, largest, low-cost retailer. That is their brand positioning, the element number 2. So if that's their brand positioning, what is their promise that they're delivering based on their positioning? And they have stated their brand promise of Walmart is for the customer to save money and live better. That is their promise that they are guaranteeing to someone every time they visit one of their stores. It's what they come to expect every single time. So what is your brand promise? What is the guarantee of value that you are promising to deliver to your audience? So number 4, the fourth brand element is understanding your brand personality. So if you could really describe your brand, if you have a traditional business, if you could describe your brand as a person, what human characteristics would you pick? Would it be happy, fun, serious, confident, bold? These are personality traits that we would assign to a person, right? So let's think about your business that you're creating or that you're trying to grow. And especially if you're just looking to build a personal brand, then this task becomes much easier because all you have to do is think about your personal traits that really capture the essence of who you are and what you're about. So brand personality is really about the way that your brand speaks, behaves, and engages with its audience. It's more the relatable side of your brand, the emotional side of your brand. And this is something that you really have to think about. That's why I think that it is one of the key elements of a brand, is understanding the visceral, emotional aspect of your brand. Think about, for example, another example, Allstate, right? And Geico or Gecko, whichever way you choose to say it. Think about the insurance industry. So both Allstate and Geico are in the business of selling insurance. But if you think about their personalities and what they convey in their advertisement, in their commercials, in their brand, it's so different. They essentially sell the same thing, but they use a different approach to relate to their different personalities. So the key is when you deliver your brand experience, you have to understand what is the brand personality that you're looking to convey. And also the most important thing is to make sure that that personality is authentic, because that's what's really going to build trust with your audience. So that was the fourth brand element, is your brand personality. So lastly, but not least, the fifth element that I believe helps define what is a brand is, last but not least, your brand identity. Now, this is when we start to talk about logos and colors. And a lot of times when we think about branding, as I mentioned earlier, we usually start with identity. And true, brand identity is part of your brand, but it's not the only part of your brand. So what is your brand identity? It's basically your tangible aspects of your brand, the logo, the colors you choose, the name of your business. These are all part of what I call your brand identity system. And its main goal is to trigger recognition and immediate recall for your brand. So when you see it, when you touch it, when you hear it, and I'm going to talk about, you immediately assign whatever it is that you're engaging with the brand. If you see a swoosh, you immediately know that it's Nike. When you see a certain color, a blue hue, the Tiffany blue, you immediately recognize that this is a Tiffany's brand. When you see the golden arches, you immediately recognize that this is McDonald's. So these are logos, colors. I mentioned the Tiffany blue color, even sound. That's right. Sound is a part of a brand's identity, because many people associate identity only with visual symbols, but it's not about just how a brand looks, but also how a brand sounds. For example, try watching your favorite online video or commercial with the sound turned off. You may recognize the brand, but there's some level of engagement that doesn't get through. So sound is really important when it comes to brand identity. Think of audio logos, sonic logos. For example, think about Intel, the microchip processor. The famous 5-note dum 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 logo. That's called a sonic logo. So that is actually a brand identifier. Audio logos, colors, scent. Scent is another form of brand identity. When there are certain brands, especially food brands or restaurant brands, or even stores. Think about Abercrombie and Fitch, the retailer that they're always in the malls. As soon as you walk in one of their stores, you immediately are hit with this scent that they intentionally emote in their stores. And it's kind of a perfume or a fragrance that they use, because they immediately want you to associate that scent with the store. So these things are intentional. So think about your brand identity. Again, how will you trigger that immediate recognition and recall for your brand? And if you are a solopreneur or an entrepreneur looking to build a solo business or a personal brand, your brand identity can play a major role. Think about the font that you use for any of your logos on your website, or the colors that you choose, even the way that you speak, the way that you dress. These are all identifiers. So again, these are the 5 elements I believe are associated and really define what a brand is. And I'm going to go back through these. So number 1, your brand purpose. Basically, what is your why? Number 2, your brand positioning. What is that unique space that's you're going to own? You're going to own in the minds of your target audience and in the marketplace. What is it about you that stands out? That stands apart from the competition? Your brand positioning. Number 3, what is your brand promise? What is that value of guarantee that you are promising to deliver to your audience every single time that they interact with your brand, when they make a transaction, when they engage with you? What is that promise that you're delivering? Number 4, how will you describe your brand as a person, the human characteristics? What is your brand personality? And number 5, what is your brand identity? That's the low-hanging fruit, the tangible aspect of your brand, your logo, the colors you choose, the way you sound, your voice. So those are the 5 key elements of your brand. And the main point of this is to really understand is that when you're developing a brand, when you're building a brand, building a business, before you even think about marketing, communication, social media, you always should start with what is your brand, and then break that brand down into those 5 key elements. And that way you will have massive success. You'll be able to have massive appeal, because you're not just thinking about one element, whether it's just your logo or your name. You're thinking about all those tangible and intangible aspects of your brand. Because remember, your brand is not just your logo. It is an integrated, interconnected suite of expectations, benefits, symbols, and promises, and your story that you're delivering to your audience. So when you're thinking about building a business and growing your brand, you owe it to yourself, you owe it to your audience to approach branding as a strategic process that has all of these ingredients wrapped into a powerful brand that you're going to deliver to the marketplace. And then you would really be able to stand apart. And that's when the real magic happens. Okay, that was it. Another solo episode of Gen X Amplified. Just me hanging out with you. And today, it was all about branding. Specifically, what are the 5 elements I believe that really define what is a brand? Remember, your brand is much more than your logo. So if you're thinking about starting a business, or even if you are currently building a business or even a personal brand, it's important to think about your brand and what does that entail. And just to recap, these are the 5 key elements that I believe define a brand. Number 1, what is your brand purpose? Basically, what is your why? Why do you choose to do what you do? Why do you exist? Why do you matter? Why should your audience believe in you? Number 2, what is your brand positioning? What is that unique space in the marketplace that you can own? Number 3, what is your brand promise? What are you guaranteeing to your audience that has value? What is your promise? Number 4, what is your brand personality? What human characteristics would you use to describe your brand? And number 5, definitely not least, your brand identity. This is where the actual logo gets its time in the spotlight. Your logo, how you sound, even how you look, the colors you choose, the name of your business. what are those immediate identifiers that trigger recall and recognition for your brand? So those are the 5 key elements, and I hope you enjoyed this podcast. And don't forget, this podcast episode was brought to you by my brand new revamped website, adrianporter.com. It is my personal online home, and there you can also get a free download for you, a PDF, and it is called the 10 tools every entrepreneur needs in this new media marketplace. Definitely go check it out, and we will send that to you via email. And I hope you enjoyed this episode, and until next time, may you go out and build your brand, amplify your story so you can maximize your impact in business and life. Thank you so much, and all the best to your success. Take care.